Our topic is the storming of the Bastille, which happened in Paris, France, on July 14th, 1789. But before this event happened,
Before the storming of the Bastille, France and its people were struggling. All the nobles and clergy and even some middle-class people were enjoying their rich lives, but nothing was going well for the peasants.
These peasants were being mistreated. All of them were poor, hungry, and uneducated. They struggled to get food and even survive. The peasants had to pay many, many taxes. Most of their money was wasted in taxes appointed by the king.
This was all because of the ruler at the time, King Louis XVI. These problems were happening because France's economy started to change. For many years in a row, the crops from the farming year before were failing to produce food. During this time, the political structure of feudalism was becoming less popular. Feudalism is where people are ranked and granted privileges based on how much money they have.
France was in severe debt because of the French and Indian War, where they were fighting against Britain and America. This is one of the reasons why food shortages were occurring.
On June 13, 1789, many different people of France came together at the Estates General, which is a meeting with the people who the king appoints to solve the problems of France. There are three assemblies. The first assembly, which is the clergy. The second assembly, which are the nobles, and the third assembly, which are the commoners of France. These assemblies each came up with ideas on how they can solve the problems of France. They vote between all the assemblies on which idea is most effective. Both the first and second assemblies are very much valued, but the third assembly is demanding some human rights which the king won't agree to.
Many people of the first and second estate agreed to the third estate, and they all formed the National Assembly. Together they demanded a constitution kind of like America's, where it would state all the human rights of a man from King Louis XVI.
After being locked out of another meeting of the Estates General because the National Assembly demanded a constitution, the king denied. They took an oath in a nearby tennis court, pledging they would all stay together until the constitution they were demanding had passed.
The king realized how dangerous this assembly was because they could protest in Paris and cause damage to the city. So Louis XVI ordered troops to gather in Versailles and Paris.
This brings us to our thesis statement. The National Assembly of France took a stand against the King Louis XVI, stormed the Bastille, and caused the French Revolution.
Before the 1600s, the Bastille was used as a fortress to protect Paris from England, but later on it was used as a prison to hold mostly political prisoners who didn't stay there for long. The Bastille represented the Bourbon monarchy and was very large. The fortress was 100 feet tall, had 8 towers, and a moat which was 80 plus feet wide.
Because of the troops that were stationed around Paris, many of the people of the National Assembly in the villages of Paris thought that they were being threatened. So many people were in frantic search of arms. The king had killed many patriots already, and he had also kidnapped and punished many. So the villagers of Paris wanted to protect themselves from the French army. Many residents of Paris had heard that there was lots of ammunition in the Bastille, so they stormed the Bastille to get weapons for free.
Jacques Necker was a popular and respected minister of finance for France, who was dismissed from the French government, which started another outrage from the citizens of Paris. Apparently, he agreed to the National Assembly about having a constitution which states that everybody has equal rights. He wanted to stop spending money on the king and wanted to help the peasants have a better life. He was put in the Bastille. Some villagers wanted to save him. Many people stormed the Bastille to get weapons for free, but few people went to storm the Bastille so they could help these innocent political prisoners become free.
On July 14th, 1789, people of National Assembly and villagers
people of the National Assembly and the villagers of Paris stormed the Bastille, demanding ammunition from Bernard René de Launay, the military governor. De Launay was the military leader of the soldiers who protected the Bastille. They also demanded that his army and him surrender with all their cannons and peacefully let them have the ammunition.
De Launay didn't surrender, and somehow the rioters managed to get into the Bastille, which caused De Launay and his army to open fire. This battle that was fought between De Launay and the National Assembly raged on from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., with the National Assembly suffering the most losses.
De Launay didn't surrendered and was captured by the people of Paris. Then the mob of people started to demolish the Bastille itself, stone by stone, until the National Army disarmed the rioters on the street who were running and tearing apart the Bastille. On July 15, one day after storming of the Bastille, King Louis XVI went to the National Assembly and told them about the dismissal of his troops in Paris. Former leader of the National Assembly also became the mayor of Paris after storming the Bastille. The king now was very frightened of the National Assembly and gave them most power of the country. After the storming of the Bastille, the National Assembly passed a law saying that the church had to follow the same laws as the civilians of France. This started an outrage by the people of the church and the followers of King Louis XVI. Before the National Assembly revolted, the church had its own set of laws caught in a civil war. It was led living a completely different lives than the normal people of France. So during 1790 to 1795, France was caught in a civil war between the National Assembly and the Church. And in 1795, Napoleon Bonaparte raised up as Emperor of France and new problems arose. Napoleon Bonaparte was a ruler of France that was greatly respected but very feared at the same time. He was the world's best military leader but an egoistic emperor. He wrote a new constitution which was based on feudalism, but was worded differently. He was exiled once, stuck in an island, but escaped, and was exiled again after he lost a series of battles against Prussia, Russia, Austria, and England. His times as Emperor of France lasted till 1815. After Napoleon, France really started to clean up. The Congress of Vienna helped France become more organized. The Bourbon monarchy was restored for once with King Louis Philippe. Our topic, the storming of the Bastille, relates to the theme of this year's History Day competition because the theme this year for History Day was taking a stand in history. The storming of the Bastille is an event where the National Assembly and the villagers of Paris took a stand against King Louis XVI and the French government. These people of the National Assembly changed the course of France in terms of power and saved France from a longer course of misery, hate, and greed.
The storming of the Bastille was a historic event that started the French Revolution and changed France forever.